God did it. What did I learn? So I look back at all the videos and I realized that they're all for me. And I knew it. I knew it in the back of my head most of the time that these videos were from me in some sort of way. And releasing them, I would look at them and be like, wow, God, this is so complex. But I can't really relate to all of it. Like, who am I to be saying this to everyone without fully like grasping what is being said and without the message fully sinking in? But I can say now that the message has sunk. It has sunk in after refinement and education. God's the teacher. And after sharpening and polishing and pruning, the message sunk in. And God called me out big time. So what is it that stood in my way for 2 years or so? The main messages of those videos were pride and surrender. What it takes to let go in order for new things to begin. And providing an illustration of what letting go looks like. A painter completing a project and a child tangling up their slinky. All of it to point towards me and other people who are in my position. You can't really surrender unless you trust in who God is. You trust that He is all powerful, all knowing, all loving. The first video was definitely a call out, and I have to have that image in my mind of who He is in order to progress, because how can I step into His purpose for me if I don't realize what His purpose is? Faithful, trustworthy, kind, patient, loving is a big one. All of His characteristics were put on display for me, visually, like through other people, through friends and godly counsel. All of it was shown before my eyes because I couldn't accept it. That was a good tool. It was nice to see God using situations and people and things like a chess piece on a chessboard, you know. We're all just a part of His show. And it showed how great He is and how much He cares, how much He does want us to come to that realization of His whole character. Trusting that God has something greater for me. Trusting that although things look bleary, although things look uneventful, it doesn't have to stay that way for long. And that I'm not waiting on God, God's really just waiting on me. And when I did take that moment, you know, I was on a phone call with someone, and through godly counsel, I was able to come to the realization that I needed to step out of God's place so He could do His work. And it didn't take longer than a day. It took less than a day for God to show up for me. I had been waiting for a vocation, for a career, for friends, and all of it looked different than I expected. As for the vocation, I thought maybe I'd have a husband, but it turned out that God just wanted me to be fully devoted to Him and enter into an intimate relationship with Him, serving Him alone. And for the job, I had been going through things by my own means, going on Indeed searches, and trying to shape what I wanted, trying to decipher what God wanted. But I can't fully comprehend that. That's all God. And it's kind of funny, I did find a job that involved, so I'm a creative, and it involved traveling across my city to share artwork with children. But there were some limits that stood in the way. Like, I needed to have reliable transportation. I needed to be able to lift so much weight. And that went for many jobs. Reliable transportation, be able to lift this much weight. And I would think to myself, well, I don't have reliable transportation at the moment. And how can I lift so much weight? And after I came to that conclusion by confiding in a friend, I realized that God's the reliable transportation. God's the one who drives the car. And weight, well, that's trying to bite off more than I can chew. That's trying to carry more than I need to be carrying when I could just give it off to Jesus. And that was such a huge revelation, because God can even use our mess ups to teach us a lesson. And he does it with pleasure, because it points to how great he is. And no, it didn't immediately plop on my lap, but I was given insight and wisdom for the overall trajectory, the overall steps that are necessary to fulfill God's promise, to fulfill his plan for my life. People were introduced and old things were uncovered that all fit into a puzzle. Things that were there all along. Like my writings all in a binder, they had been for a purpose. Like, one thing that I had noticed that the devil tried to do was convince me that my writings were cringe, that my videos were cringe. But no, when I looked back, they make sense. And he couldn't get me to toss them out altogether. And that's good. I'm so thankful for that. I just needed to be able to take the right approach. And I can't do that unless I'm in sync with him. If I don't know him, if I don't trust him, if I don't confide in him and open up to him, we can't work as a team. And that's just the TRUTH truth. And during that period of sharpening and polishing and pruning, I would think to myself, well, I'd be so much happier when it all happens, when I'm teaching, when I'm spreading the good news, when I'm at that point, when I'm out on my own. But now, little things are happiness, and not even happiness, but joy, because little things speak to his faithfulness. Little things bring out the best in him. And that's my focus now, is him. It's not power or success or achievement or even control. It's him. He already has it all laid out. And I know, see, he spoke this to me but it didn't really sink. It all sounded like a riddle. But time is on his string. And one of those moments in time was a time of revelation and epiphany, when I finally surrendered and said, do your thing. And that was what it took. And so, making the realization that I was twiddling my thumbs, that I was going in circles, that I was talking back like a disobedient child, that was the process of humbling. And I consider, if pride is the biggest sin, then humbleness is like a huge virtue. So huge. So huge. Jesus couldn't even spread the gospel without being humble. What if he would have just gone up to people and said, I'm Jesus, worship me? They'd be like, huh? Who does this guy think he is? And it seems that we'd get the same reaction when we're not walking in humility. And yeah, after all of this, I came across a video by Considering the Ravens. I'll link it down below. And it called me out, and it highlighted stuff that had been going on during the journey, during the 2-year period. And, like, okay, first of all, I enjoy how she says, don't just spend your time scrolling. And that's what I've been doing. And so when I finally came across a good, wise message, it was just one in a big bunch of messages. And she's the real deal. And so for that to come and meet me right when I had made that big realization, that just proved that God does work through people. God does spread messages online, and not everyone is a money-hungry fake. It's true, but it's all about approach, and it's all about timing. It's all about timing. Like, on Instagram, I had saved some videos and put important, and they all spoke to my situation. They all spoke to where I was now. They called me out in the best way, and it was wonderful. God does work through people online, and God works through the most unexpected circumstances. There's no putting a limit on him. So hopefully this is helpful for anyone who's watching this video that was in the same position that I was. And humility is gold, and pride is like mold. Ooh. Pride is like mold, and pride is infectious, and humility spreads light wherever it goes. And technically, pride is fool's gold. Pride is fool's gold. And spreading pride and celebrating pride is like a big roadblock. It's like building a big wall and keeping someone trapped. And you can't get out of a trap unless you rely on Jesus to use his strength